Hi, cousins. Today I am so excited that I get to talk to Christen Pierce from Between the Shadows. It's a great podcast and she is awesome. Come on, let's head down to the back room at the Blue Whale. And here we are. Awesome. Well, welcome. I am so excited that you're here, and I'm so excited to see you. And
Thank you.
this is great. I love your podcast, and I actually saw you and your sister at the memorial event 2 years ago, and I was too shy to come and say hello. I just kind of like waved a little bit, but I don't think you saw me.
Oh,
But I'm actually pretty shy. I'm pretty shy.
oh, same.
Yeah, but
Socially awkward, I feel like.
I love Between the Shadows. It's a great podcast, and just kind of give me a little intro here with the podcast, because I know that you and your sister Cara used to watch the show with your dad, and that you started the podcast
Yeah.
on his birthday, and it's just about your love of the show. But when did you first think,
Sure.
I think we should do a podcast?
Oh my gosh. Well, I mean, it's for all of our lives, and it's all we ever taught, me and Kara when we were growing up and into our, getting to be an adult. And it was all we would talk about. And, the time of COVID came, and I actually going to go on a friend's podcast who had something completely different. Like he just had like, myths and legends and, the old like monsters stuff. He was like, would you like to come on and talk about it? I'm like, I would love to. I was like, what do you want me? He's like, whatever you want. And I said, okay, come on and talk about Dark Shadows. And the nerve to ask, what's Dark Shadows? I said, oh, let me tell you. And but I never did get to go on that show because it kind of or didn't do anything anymore. But I went to Kara. How would you feel about starting a podcast? Because we talk about it, so what do you think? And she's like, yeah, let's do it. So, then time of COVID came and we had all kinds of to do nothing and not work. And so that's where it was born. And we didn't really have a direction, but we knew we wanted to talk about it and, thing, on paper, get something on screen. It just went from there. And it was one of the many things that, brings me joy. So here we are. Yeah.
Yeah, your microphone keeps kind of breaking up a bit, so sometimes I don't get every word, and I don't know if it's like the weather or what, and your camera's freezing too. So hopefully I'm not freezing too.
Gotcha. But it might just be doing updates in our area with the stuff. So it might be that too. So we'll try to just get through, I guess.
Yeah, we'll figure it out. But one of the things I love that you do is you do really go into the episodes. You like research the episodes. You have like the whole like plot synopsis when you're talking about the episodes, and you're talking about the various scenes. Sometimes I can't remember things like that, and I don't take notes. So, I mean, that's a really cool thing to do, to actually have something like that you can refer to. Oh yeah, I was going to talk about this, or oh, then this happened. Have you found that kind of makes the whole thing easier to be prepared and have that ready?
Oh, definitely. Lots of note taking because I cannot everything. It's so like detailed because I feel like it's so like Dark Shadows is like slow moving sometimes, so it's hard for everything that happens. And it note taking is definitely a must because I'll never remember it all. So but I like the free form. I like to just I like to just talk because sometimes off the top of your head sometimes but not. So
Mhm. Yeah, I've had some friends who've watched this podcast, and they say, I really don't know anything about Dark Shadows, or I've never seen Dark Shadows. And I like that it's not like just something like for the experts and just for like super fans. And I like that with Between the Shadows, I mean, it is for super fans, but it also isn't, because it's very easy for anyone new to the show to just kind of jump in,
Mhm.
and you let people know, okay, there's spoilers, and okay, spoilers. And so if it's your first time watching, oh, okay, there's something important there. But I like
Right.
that it's very accessible to both the new fans and the old fans.
Thank you. Yeah, definitely. I mean, the whole alert came later when I realized, oh, people might be watching it for the first time, because it's just, for us, it's been always there. And, we, off assuming that everybody's seen this, and it occurred to us that it's like, there's people watching the very first time. So we tried to like give the episode list that we were going to talk about, and then just, if you haven't watched it yet, there's, spoiler. But yeah, I think that's really important, especially because, I mean, I just, it's great that people are still watching it for them.
Mhm.
So I think that's a great way to go. Yeah.
Yeah, I just tend to kind of jump all over the place. I don't really have set themes like I know Jewel does, like when I've been on Jewel's podcast, and
Oh
you've been
yeah.
on well. And he'll very kind of set theme. It's like, okay, we're going to talk about this episode or their storyline. And so it's like, okay, then you're kind of just in that plot, in that storyline. And it's in some ways it's kind of easier to talk about, but then in other ways it's kind of like, well, I didn't really care for this storyline, and what can I really say about it when I really would much rather talk about what the character did in this storyline.
Definitely. Definitely. I mean, I'm a fan of all of it, but there's definitely, certain things in the show that I'd rather talk about, more than others. And yeah, I quite agree with you. But talking about the topic, time to, refresh my,
Yeah,
and but yeah, there's definitely things like the time travel of it all. That's
mhm.
my favorite thing to talk about, because it's like, I love travel. It just hooks me. But yeah, favorite things about it.
Well, I told Jewel the first time that I was on his podcast. I think I told him, um, and I think the topic was. I think we're talking about Barnabas, and Barnabas is a character that he's in the majority of the show, and he's got so many different aspects to him. And I thought, I'm going to have to take notes on this, and I got out every Dark Shadows book I had. I remember taking out Patrick McRae's day books and taking notes. I Catherine Lee Scott's books and taking notes, and it was almost like studying for a test. And I, wrote all these things down that I wanted to talk about Barnabas, because, I mean, that's a huge scope right there, talking Barnabas. Because he came on,
Absolutely.
when he came on in 1967, the show had been on for, what was it, 9 or 10 months or something, and then he's on until almost the very end, except for like the last few months when it's Brown rather than Barnabas. So that's a
Right.
lot to cover.
Certainly is. And I'm always afraid of like getting it wrong.
Me too.
Like, oh, did I get info there? And I'm just like, a break, because there's so much, and it's like, somebody is going to correct you. Somebody's going to like comment and be like, oh, actually, and then I'm like, you know. So, but yeah, you're right. It's a very large topic, within the show itself. Like, my gosh.
And it's something that
Do
even
you
though
like him better as a vampire or as a human?
that's the thing,
Sorry.
because I really enjoy him personally. I really find his character fascinating during the kidnapping of Maggie Evans storyline, you know,
Okay.
and and just because he's not obviously a good guy then, and he's got some issues going on, And but then to see him kind of grow and change, and there are these beautiful little moments even then that kind of point to his humanity, that kind of show how he was when he was, a human in 1795. And
Mhm.
we kind of get those little glimpses like throughout. And then when we go back to 1795, and he is such a flesh and blood, I mean, literally kind of character. He is this living character, and his character seems almost more alive than when he was a vampire. I mean, obviously he's alive, but just that there's so many different interesting things about his character where he's not kind of pigeonholed into like, oh, a vampire must, suck blood, or I must attack so and so, or I'm really upset, I'm gonna go beat Willie, or whatever it is. You see all these different kind of facets to him, how he interacts
Oh,
with Ben, how he interacts with Sarah, and that's just really beautiful. Those moments are really beautiful. And when he goes back to being the vampire in the Leviathan storyline, it's kind of sad because we know, what he could do before, what he was really capable of before. And now he's like reverted not just to this vampire, but almost to this, villainous kind of character. He's helping, these bad guys. And in a way,
mhm.
it's because, I mean, Jonathan Frid was a brilliant actor, and I mean, so that's great that he could really kind of zero in on that, but also it's like, are we going to get our Barnabas back? Is he going to be human again? And those kind of questions. I like Barnabas best
Mhm.
when he's a hero helping the family. you know as much as I like him as, when he's a vampire, and with Maggie and all this, very dramatic stuff. I
Mhm.
think he is really kind of the soul of the show when he is working as a team with Julia, when he's helping the family. You know, I mean, that's just what I
Agreed.
think.
Yeah, I have you because it's when he the villain and being a heel, it's like part of me that he it's like his going through. It's like he has given be human again, and so he's get as much control as I think that's just him, you know, feeling his pain through what he knows at the time. But I love when he turns good, and then when he becomes again, he to and do things for instead of just being a fucking vampire.
Yeah, I think of all the
No,
characters on the show, the biggest
so
kind of character arcs
the
are.
good
Hang
romantic,
on, yeah, your microphone keeps breaking up. The
like
the
good always wins.
Yeah, good always wins. Yeah. And I think the three biggest kind of character arcs on the show are Barnabas, Angelique, and Quentin, and the way that they grow and that they change, and that each one of those is so very different but so very important. And it fits as a whole. You get all those puzzle pieces together as a whole with the three of them and their arcs, I think. I think you froze up again.
I agree. Yeah. Oh, I don't know.
I think I'm getting like every fifth word now.
Oh, uh,
I can't really hear your microphone's going in and out. What I'm gonna do is I'm gonna stop the recording for a minute. I'm gonna try to leave the room and come back and see maybe if that does it. Because okay, second attempt. We're gonna try it again now.
do it.
We what were we just saying about were we talking about Barnabas? Is that what it was? I couldn't even
I
hear
think
you.
so. I think so. Oh my gosh, technology. Can't live with it or without it. So
So yeah, please repeat that because I couldn't get any of that.
okay, Barnabas. Okay, now I got to remember what I said. Oh, okay. Barnabas, okay. It's like you said, he's a huge character and he's a huge topic in the middle of all of this Dark Shadows. And I just there are times when he is such a heel and you know, he's doing evil and I think what I said was I think all the evil and the bad doing that he was doing was kind of like channeling his pain, because he was the reluctant vampire. He always was, and there was no way to get out of it. And I think it was a way of him for him to channel his pain. But I think at his core, he was a family man. He did want to be helpful. He did have a lot of love in his heart. I mean, that was shown through Josette, and I think it was shown later with Vicky when he realized that he didn't have to turn Vicky because Vicky was just she was the incarnation of Josette all by herself without needing to be coerced or whatever. But that's a little bit off topic from Barnabas, but I think truly at his core, he was someone who had a lot of love for his family and, for the various loves of his life. But yeah,
Mhm.
that was a little better than what I said before. I'll take that.
Hey.
Oh my goodness.
So with these like three main characters, you have Barnabas, Angelique, and Quentin, and they all have very interesting and very important character arcs because they all really grow in their own way. They're all rather complex characters and not exactly what they seem at first.
Certainly.
Um, you know, with Barnabas, I mean, we really kind of just see that throughout the series. With a character like Angelique more, it's a little harder because a lot of people are just like but she put the curse and she did this and she did that, and you have to realize this is a very hurt woman. She loved him.
Mm-hmm.
And sometimes we have to do things like this when we love people.
Yes.
It's just, I mean, yes, does it make her a horrible person? No, I don't think it makes her a horrible person. And one of the things that a lot of people, get so mad at her for is, oh, well, it's because of her that Sarah died. Well, not necessarily. I
Mm-hmm.
Sarah wasn't, coerced by Angelique to, go out and,
Mm-hmm.
and get sick. And, Angelique didn't have anything to do with that. Yes, she turned Barnabas into a vampire. And when she saw Barnabas, that's what made her run out. But I mean,
Right.
that's like a side effect. That's nothing that she did directly. And I think that she gets a lot of unfair blame for that.
I agree. I'm an Angelique sympathizer because I'm like, I'm a woman too. I get it.
Mhm.
When he won't love me back, that hurts, and she had the power to fight back. And sometimes our version of fighting back, that was her version of
Mhm.
reacting to pain, So I think that her curse, her hatred towards Barnabas was, well, if you won't love me, then, hate and love are on the same head here, so I'm gonna channel hate instead. So I'm an Angelique sympathizer. I loved her. I understood her as a woman myself, as a woman who's had my heart broken. I get it, girl. I get it.
I, I
So
wrote a whole album about her.
Did you really?
Oh yeah,
Oh, I need this in my life.
yeah. I had my heart broken and decided to channel Angelique and wrote a whole album
I
about
love that. That is amazing. I need this in my life.
But
Oh my
I'm
gosh.
never truly like evil. I mean, even the things that she did, I mean, there was reasoning behind it.
Hmm.
When she, would use like Sarah's doll with the pins, she didn't plan to kill her. She was just using that as leverage. And I think that she knew exactly how far she could go with it. The same
Hmm.
thing with Barnabas and the soldier. And when it got caught, she was like, "Oh crap." And she
Yes,
was scared, and she didn't want to
was.
kill him.
Mm-mm.
A lot of people I think forget that. You know, but she was very capable of being evil when she needed to be evil. You
I
know,
agree. I heard somewhere, I can't remember where I heard it, but I heard that people aren't evil for evil's sake. They're evil because it feels like the right thing at the time. So I don't think she was ever just pure evil. Not ever.
I
But
think it's because of things that happened to her and the way that she was treated that
mhm,
caused her to react the way she did.
exactly.
I mean, I think that, you know, it's Barnabas's own fault, number one. I mean, really, the whole thing is his fault. And she I think she gets unfairly kind of blamed for that. She was a woman in love.
I
You
agree.
know, I don't think that, I do I think he deserved it? Yes, honestly, I do.
Hmm. I mean, I have nothing against men. Don't get me wrong. I love you all. You're all wonderful. However, I do think you guys are stupid sometimes.
Yeah. Yeah.
And sometimes you don't think about anyway. That's a whole other bunny trail. But I think Barnabas is one of those guys who didn't stop
Mhm.
to think about what the consequences would be of, you know, I mean, you were with Josette, and then that's a backstory I hope we get someday, what happened in Martinique. But you were with Josette, and then you were with Angelique, and Angelique fell for him, like fell hard and devoted to him. And then he was like, "Oh, I'm gonna marry Josette," and of course she would be upset. It's just you had the providence of hurting a woman with power, a woman who could get you back. So
Yeah.
but
And I think even just the way that he handled things, because I mean, if you think about it, she could have still been his mistress. He could have set her up very nicely in her own home. They could have
uh,
had children together, and that would not have been uncommon for the time at all. I mean, it wasn't marriage, but I think it was the next best thing. And I think that they could have gone into it with the promise of, hey, if something happens to Josette, then I can marry you.
right, right.
And maybe kind of come to that kind of compromise or something. But he very coldly rejects her outright.
Hmm.
And that's just wrong.
Yeah. What did you think she was going to do?
Mhm.
But yeah, no, I totally agree. I'm an Angelique supporter 100%. And even though I'm like, girl, that's a little too far, but I get it. I get it. If I had that ability, that would probably be me too. Like, I'm gonna get you back.
Mhm.
But
Yeah, and I mean, I don't think that she ever truly hated him at any point. I think she was very hurt and very upset, but I don't think she ever truly really like hated him because I mean, even if you look at 1897 when Quentin summons her and she
mhm,
talks about, he's my enemy and yes, I'm gonna get him, but she doesn't really. She goes after Rachel, who she sees as kind of more of that, threat, like, oh, here he goes again, with Josette,
right,
you know,
right.
and she helps him. She saves him. She creates a doppelganger to save him from being destroyed. You don't do that if you hate somebody.
No, and it keeps showing up. She keeps helping him like every step of the way. She's like, I don't want to help you, Barnabas, but she does. Every time that they meet each other, she ends up helping him. And, she warns him as she does. I during the Leviathan story arc where she was like, I'm happy, I have Sky, and she was like, just so you know, I have every single one of my powers, but she still helps him. And, ends up losing Sky too, which, I guess in the long run was fine because Sky was kind of a jerk and he was, in league with the Leviathans and she had no idea. So
Mhm.
she ended up on the side of Barnabas anyway.
Yeah.
And
I
but
mean,
it's always there.
the thing is, if a man lies to you, do you necessarily want to still be with that man? And Sky lied to her. I mean, that's a really big thing. And
Yes,
he kept that from her.
it's true.
And it's like I don't think I'd want to be with somebody who's going to keep secrets like that from me, who's not the person that they say they are. So,
No,
he was better off without him. And
agreed.
I'm the kind of person that I think that everything, good or bad, everything that happens in life is either a blessing or a lesson. Everything,
Absolutely.
you know.
I agree with that.
Yeah, and
I
I
totally
yeah, I think it applies to Dark Shadows too. They've got some hard lessons that they've had to learn. Yeah.
certainly so.
And that brings me to the third big character, with the big character arc, which is Quentin. I think Quentin, out of all of them, really had to make some big changes and really kind of think about who he was and what he wanted. Because when we first see him, he is this playboy, he is this charming devil may care, just I mean, he's the kind of guy that just kind of like lives off their parents in the basement and doesn't want to go to work and plays video games all day. We all know one of those.
Oh yes. Oh yes.
you know,
I
and
won't name names.
but he does this huge shift, especially when his son dies. I think that's the biggest shift. It was like, oh, I have to grow up now. I have
Certain
to be adult. I have to make decisions. I think that was like the biggest turning point for him, although he'd had several along the way. And he sees where his actions, what consequences his actions have had, when Jenny dies, you know,
yes.
that was a big one. But the one thing about that was just like, really, is how do you not know that the woman that you married is a gypsy and the gypsy that lives next door is her sister?
Where were you when you got married?
I mean, they've been next door for what, how many years, however long they've been married. They're over at the house all the time. And you'd
Mhm.
have to think that when Jenny was well, that they were, hanging out together,
Mhm.
you know.
Yeah.
And so that's what gets me is how do you not know of this personal relationship of your wife? Do you know nothing about your wife? And I think that again really points to just how immature he really was. He treated marriage like a game. He
Yeah.
fooled around with his brother's wife. And Jenny loved him. Beth
Mhm.
loved him. He has these women who absolutely were just so in love with him, that they were, devoted to him, and he really didn't care.
Yeah. I think it was all for him. I think it was all a contest, uh, yeah, it was a game, I think, um like the chase, oh, I got married, I got this woman, I got this woman. And there's a Joel and I have a running joke what's like, how does he only have two kids?
I'm sure he didn't.
Yeah, I'm like, somebody else is coming forward.
Yeah, I'm sure that there's probably more werewolves that we didn't see.
There had to have been, because
Yeah.
man.
Or there were a lot of female children, and then maybe there's more werewolves that'll pop up in future generations. We don't know. Yeah.
Maybe so. And we get the follow-up to this later, so I'm like, I hope it's a thing. But or I mean, I guess it is. I'm curious to know what that's going to look like, especially with all of Quentin's bad choices, and uh I mean, he comes home and he was like, oh, grandma will give me anything that I want. She says I can live here, whatever. And as long as he had a place to live, that was all he needed. He could think of the rest. And then things really started to go south for him, and it was just but I mean, talk about character development. There was with Quentin Collins, and um, I think part of him was still a little bit of that womanizer, but at the same time, I think he really learned how to love too. And that I think was a huge change for him was when he finally realized how and who to love, and it was just that talk about character development. That was Quentin Collins, but
Mhm.
so
Because I think that really the only person that Quentin truly loved besides himself was Jameson.
yes, yes,
I think really because I personally don't think that he truly loved Amanda. I think he loved the idea of Amanda. I think
hmm
that he still wasn't really mature enough to really kind of realize what going into this relationship was, like with every relationship. Yeah,
hmm
and I mean, even though he went and got her, and down in the underworld and all of that. I mean, I don't think that was truly like love on his part. I think he deeply cared for her. I think that he wanted to rescue her. I thought that he wanted to help her. But
hmm
I think he was thinking, hey, I love this woman. She's the love of my life. And once I get her out of here, we're going to be together forever. I don't think necessarily that's what he thought going into that. I mean, that may just be me, though.
No, I think you're probably right. I mean, I think maybe a part of him loved her, but at the same time, I think maybe that was his first taste of what love could be.
Hmm.
But I think you're right. I think he was too immature to love her you know, in a true love kind of way, because
Hmm.
I just don't think they were ever meant to be. I think that there was a strong attraction there, and I think there was a deep love that wasn't like, romantic love there, but I think there was a deep affection there for each other, but it wasn't the right time, and it definitely wasn't the right place. And she got a second chance at life, but ultimately she was doomed, and I don't think that they were ever meant to be. I think I think it was a test for Quentin to, I think that was part of where his character development and how he learned how to love came from, because he did do everything to save her, but in the end, I don't think Mr. Best would have let that be. I just
Hmm.
don't. So
That's what I think too. And I'm so glad I'm not the only one.
no, no, you're not. No. If I had to who would you choose if you were going to choose, like, because there were so many, like, who would you choose as Quentin's like true love?
I think the closest would be Beth, honestly, because I think she truly loved him really more than anything. I mean,
Yeah,
she killed herself really, but
yeah,
and,
yeah,
and I think if he had matured more, they really could have worked on that, and they really
yeah,
could have made something with that, but of course she died,
yeah,
and I
yeah,
he realized too late what she meant to him. I don't even think he fully processed it at the time because of the whole thing with Pitofi and everything that was going on. I don't think he really had time to process that until much later. And I think that when he did, it was like, oh crap, that could have been, you know, that's what I think.
that could be another reason why Beth was a ghost at Collinwood, because of that whole unfinished thing, between them. And, you know, Beth didn't get to love him in the way she would have liked to. It was all secret, and it was all, I'm just another notch in the bedpost, and by the time he could finally love her, it was too late.
Hmm.
But she was devoted to him, knew exactly what he was willing to hide him and cover for him. And
Hmm.
I think you might be right about Beth. Like, I was kind of thinking Daphne, like, all the way at the end, but this was when Quentin was all better and he didn't have any like real baggage, but Beth loved him in his baggage and in his, complete imperfection and his immaturity. So,
Yeah, I don't think Daphne really knew him as he didn't really know Daphne.
yeah.
Because when we first, meet Daphne, I mean, yes, she's beautiful, but she is ghost. You don't a ghost. You don't really know what her intentions are. You don't know what side she's on. You don't know, is she here to help? Is she here to hurt? we
True.
really don't know that. And even in the beginning of 1840, there's still that kind of like, okay, well, with this Quentin, is she good? Is she bad? You know,
Right.
we don't know. Now, the thing with going back to the future with the future Daphne and Quentin, the thing there too is, she may be confusing that Quentin with her Quentin. They look
True.
they have the same name, but they're not actually the same man.
True.
You
Very
know,
true.
so there could be a lot of residual feelings, that she's just kind of emoting towards, this Quentin because his name is Quentin. He looks like her Quentin, but
Hmm.
he's not.
That's very true. I didn't think I keep I keep forgetting that, like Quentin in 1970 and Quentin in 1840 are not the same person. It's like because I mean, they do have a few like, differences, like subtle differences, like, and even Quentin in, 1970 parallel time was different than,
Mhm.
and it's hard to keep them all straight. I didn't think about that.
They given him a different name, but to be
I
Quentin
know.
single time.
Like which one? There are several. Which one? At least, like that was the difference with between him and Barnabas Collins, like being the star of the show, because Quentin did babysit the audience a lot while Barnabas was away, but Quentin, there was many different Quentins, and Barnabas was always the same from start to finish. It was always the same guy, and then at the end you get his kid Bromwell, which I thought made me think that Barnabas got a happy ending, at least in parallel time, but
Mhm.
but
Maybe, I think the thing with the 1841 parallel time is by that time, because it was so different, I don't think people really gave it a chance to see it for what it was.
right.
And I had somebody on the show this last episode. I had Samantha Lomuscio and George Hernandez, and George started watching during the 1841 parallel time. That's where he started. So he
Wow.
with
Okay.
Catherine. So he loved it. That's where he really got into the show. And it was so refreshing to really talk to somebody who had come in at that point and they weren't biased, and that they saw it for for what it was, enjoyed it for what it was. Because so many times you talk to people, and of course, they've either seen it from the very beginning or at some other previous point, and they're like, but it's not Barnabas, but it's not Angelique, but it's not blah, blah, blah. And,
Right.
not really taking it for what it was. And if you look at 1841 just on its own, I mean, the acting is beautiful. To
Hmm.
see what Laura Parker does with Catherine is lovely. That she's not a villain. She's not scheming. She's not plotting. She's a woman in love, and it
She's a
kind
nice
of
girl.
yeah, and it kind of gives us that glimpse into maybe what Angelique was like on Martinique, being in love with Barnabas. you know
True.
you think about that, it's kind of like, okay, yeah, I could see that. Just very, very soft and lovely and gentle, and it's all romantic, and
Mhm.
I could see that you know
Me too. I mean, I was one of those ones who loved 1841 parallel time. I actually loved it. Like
Mhm.
I thought the story was really good, and I mean, I was intrigued, and I was actually kind of nice to get. I mean, yeah, it's all the same actors, but we got some fresh characters, and I don't know, I loved it. I thought it was great, but I
I,
know
I
I'm in the minority on that, so
I love how they took these two very different stories and plot points and blended them together with the Bramwell and Catherine, the Wuthering Heights storyline, and the lottery, the locked room, and how they really kind of blended those two together. And it's like, wow, that's different. you know
yeah. They weren't recycling any of the stories that they had already used like they had been, and I'm like, this is awesome. It's a fresh story. I love it. A little too cut short, but that's not a reflection on really anybody. It's just the way it was. But yeah, I appreciated the fresh characters and the fresh story, but also within the Collins family that's familiar. It's I,
Mhm.
I loved it. I thought it was great.
Mhm. And even 1840, because I was having a discussion about 1840 with someone else, and I kind of threw out the suggestion of what if 1840 is actually parallel time? Because if you think about the 1970 haunting with Gerard and Daphne, they kind of allude to these things and kind of talk about things that we don't really see in 1840. It's very different. And
True.
and so you think of what if the 1840 that we got was a parallel time 1840? What if we never saw the actual 1840 that they're talking about in 1970?
True.
You talk about time travel and all of that.
Absolutely.
I think that's an interesting idea.
There's a lot of speculation around that. I mean, there's a lot that could be speculated around that room because I mean, Barnabas goes in 1970. It is 1970, but it's a parallel. But when they come out, it's 1995, and who's to say what time and what, time band you'll end up in? So it's like,
Mhm.
how would you know? So I think that's a very good observation. I love that. But who's to say? I mean, you could end up in any time zone, any time period, and any time band of any, you know, 1970, 1840, 1995, and it's just go anywhere you like, but you don't get a choice. So
Well, that's one thing that I think that they could do if they were to do a new series is to really kind of play around with that.
yeah,
You can touch on some of the stories that we've had before, but you can go beyond that because there's so much, kind of lore and history and everything that we got in the episodes we got that we can totally work with, that we can, play around with. And even Collinsport itself, you know, Collinwood is a place of secrets. Collinsport is a place of secrets.
hmm,
Many of the town folks have, secrets that that
yes,
that maybe have to do with the Collins family or that are, supernatural in some way. Maybe Quentin did have a bunch of children and maybe they'll be popping up, their descendants will be popping up. We don't know. So,
right.
that's a possibility that they could do something with.
Absolutely. I mean, the door is so wide open in the fact that I think what they said that they were going to do, it's not the same story that we've been seeing. It's like the future. It's like the descendants, and I think that is so cool because then we get to, there's a whole plethora of things that they could, open up with that and go back and tell like the backstory. Like when did I'm convinced that like the grounds of Collinwood are cursed and that it's like a hellmouth for things, and I don't know if that happened with the
Mhm.
widows jumping off or, you know, Jeremiah getting cursed because he told the widows to go away or, if this parallel time room is something that is just a side effect of that. And I really think that that's something that they could play around with this, with the series coming up. And I can't wait. I would love to see any number of those things as to why it is the way that it is.
And
Because
it could
we
go
never got
back
that.
even further than that. It could go back to Judah Zachary. You know,
It could.
so yeah, it could be something to do with that. It could have been Native American tribes in the area. Maybe they set something in motion, which then
Right.
came Judah Zachary, which then came the widows, which then came,
Right.
we.
That snowball. I love that. Oh, we should just write our own stories. No, just
We
send them
could.
in. Be like, here you go.
Who knows? Maybe all of the evil at Collinwood maybe is like an ancient thing. You know,
Yeah.
that it could go so far back that it wasn't even written down for hundreds of years, and by that time maybe local tribes knew something of its history and that's what got passed down, but maybe they didn't even know the whole thing, and so maybe that's for future Collins to find out somehow.
Right. Oh, that's good. I love that. I would love to see all of that because it's just something we didn't get enough of. I think when if with the original series, it's like we went as far back as Judah Zachary, which I think was like 1500 sometime. But I think I mean the Collins family like goes back further than that. So it's like there's so many things they could do.
I mean, we know that they came from England, so
Yeah,
we know there was family over there, and who knows what they brought with them besides the pieces of their house that they reassembled piece by piece. Maybe there
right.
was something within the house itself, in the walls,
Mhm.
some cursed object or something.
Yeah. I mean, it came from several different places all over the world, and dragged along the coast. And, who knows? You're right. Who knows what got picked up? Oh, that's good. I love that. That's good.
Yeah, so I mean, and then even the stories that could have been that we got little glimpses of that were never fully explored, like when Quentin and Laura were in Egypt, and I know that they've done that somewhat with the audio dramas, I think, but I mean, I would love to see that, and I know Danielle was talking about like bringing in like the mummy kind of legend and all of that. They could have done something with that, with that whole Egyptian connection. They could
Mhm.
have done something with some sort of jinn or something from that part of the world that maybe Quentin brought back with him. I mean, he was into the occult and he picked up things in his travels. He had I Ching wands. Who knows what else he had? Who knows what else he may have brought into the house?
Definitely. I mean, I think there's plenty that we didn't get to see because I mean, Quentin Quentin was so far into the occult, and I think that's part of the reason he was, I mean, aside from Magda being who she was, I think that's what made him so open to be cursed because he was such a student, he was such a dabbler, and you know, because I mean, even Angelique with her curse and with putting the spell on Jeremiah and Josette, it didn't always work. They were still able to kind of snap out of it. But Quentin, being such a dedicated student and like seeker of the occult, I think that made it to where the curse just stuck like that. And I mean, it stuck so well that it affected his future generations too. So,
And perhaps it made it worse in that way because he was familiar with, supernatural things, with the occult, that knowledge of kind of knowing what has been done to you, but not necessarily how to fix it. That
right,
would
right.
be terrifying.
Yes, definitely. Yeah. Lost my train of thought. But yeah, no, you're absolutely right. I don't know. I think Quentin set himself up a lot for all of that. And I'm like, eventually somebody was going to get you. And
Yeah.
again, like Barnabas, you picked someone who was powerful and who could, you know, curse you with something like that because she got hurt. Her family, her sister died because of you. I mean, what did you think was going to happen? But apparently he didn't know. I'm like, that's why you got to do your research, dude. But yeah.
Yeah, there seems to be a theme that, the men in the Collins family, while they may be learned, while they may be well educated and things, they're not necessarily that smart.
Yeah, yeah. Still boneheaded though.
They still think with the wrong head.
Yeah, agreed. Oh, so
No,
true.
but
Sorry.
I would have loved to have seen Count Patolfi return. I think that would have been great to have that happen in some way. I mean, what would you have really liked to have seen happen?
Um, I had heard that right before the show got canceled that Laura was going to make a third appearance on the show, and I would have liked to have seen how that would have happened because I mean, we've seen her, we saw her in the past. We saw her as David's mother and we saw her as Nora and Jameson's mom. So how are they going to bring her back? Because, well, I guess the only person who witnessed her death was her kid because Burke was gone, Vicky was gone, Joe was gone, and well, Maggie was gone at the end of it too. I mean, I guess she ended up going to Wincliffe too. So I guess it kind of did open the door a little bit. So I'm like, how would they have done that? Would they have done it like in present time, or would they have, gone a little further into the past? Or I would have liked to have seen how that would have shaken out.
you think about that whole kind of Phoenix timeline, which they do play quite a bit with, it had only been a couple years. So that
Right.
really fit in with that Phoenix timeline. But if maybe if perhaps Barnabas found another room or stairway or something and either went back into the past or went back into a parallel past
True.
or something like that, maybe they could have done something with that. And who knows, maybe she would have even have been successful in taking David with her, and that's why he has to go back
Maybe so. Maybe
to
so.
family.
See, all of these things could have worked out. And I'm like, I wish I could have seen the original plans. Like, how are you planning on doing that? Because I mean, you are right, because the Phoenix timeline, just a couple years down the road probably wouldn't have fit so well, but they could have gone back because they mentioned so many Lauras. I mean, and we saw two of them. So I
Mhm.
mean, any
Yeah,
one of us could have happened. So
and any of them could have been back to when Laura was married to Jeremiah, even.
true.
And we'd gone back to the 1700s, and they could have done something then.
Very true. Hmm.
And I mean, another one of the kind of unsolved mysteries is what happened to Chris and Sabrina. It'd be
Yes.
nice to find that out.
Definitely. I mean, would we, I guess I'm like still looking forward to this new series. It's like, is Ginny an old woman now? Or not Jen? Yeah, Amy is Amy.
Amy.
Sorry, I'm Amy Jennings, not Jenny. Jenny's Quentin's wife. But is Amy, is Amy an old woman now? Did she have kids? Are her kids cursed? Or, because I always thought that Amy had some kind of like supernatural,
Mm-hmm.
at least being clairvoyant, but we didn't get to see her grow up enough to see if she ever came into it. Like her, I feel like her clairvoyance was like she knew when her brother was in trouble, but I always felt like there was more. I always felt like there was more with her, and I wish we could have seen that. But
I think that had something to do with the curse. I think that maybe there was something within the curse itself that would have any, female children would have this kind of clairvoyant gift, and the males would grow up to be the werewolf. And maybe the fact that Chris and not Tom became the werewolf is maybe Chris was older, and maybe it just
yeah,
firstborn or something. I don't know.
right, right. Yeah, I didn't think about the females, and it makes me wonder because we never got to see Quentin's kid grown up either. So maybe we could have seen her and seen if she was anything like Amy, or when she had kids, if she had to deal with her firstborn son being a werewolf. I mean, Quentin escaped it through the picture and through Patofi, but you know later on when Chris tried, it didn't work. So I don't know, I would have liked to have seen that. But what about
Yeah.
you? What would you have liked to have seen?
Well, I mean, there's, quite a lot of things like, some of the things that I mentioned before, but I also would have liked to have seen maybe some other Collins relatives come in. And so that way you could really kind of expand the storylines a bit.
Yeah.
Because it's a huge house, right? And I get that they built the new house, Collinwood, for the family that were leaving the old house, but
Hmm.
I had to think, okay, there had to have been more family than this, or a very prominent family. What
Definitely.
happened to that other family? I'm sure they, maybe had descendants. Maybe there really is a cousin from England, you know,
Hmm.
Barnabas, but maybe some other cousin actually went to England. And how
Right.
would that be if that cousin came over, and to have this cousin and Barnabas kind of sussing each other out, like, okay, are you really a cousin, or are you, I think that would have
Sure.
been.
I don't think when Barnabas came in and said he was from England, I don't think that he knew that he was the last of the Collinses. I don't think he knew at all. I think he made it up. And I mean, if they came from England to the States, then there had to have been cousins and uncles and sisters and brothers, and
Right, because
so I don't.
his cousin Niall Bradford.
Right.
So Niall had to have had family, one would think, somehow.
Exactly. I think you're lying, Barnabas. Or he just doesn't know. But yeah, you're right. I didn't even think of, different, more Collinses, probably in England coming back over and poking holes in Barnabas's story. That would have been fun to see him getting out of, because I swear that man got out of so much just by talking. And I'm like, you could charm a snail. You literally could. But yeah, I agree. I agree.
Yeah. And maybe that's something that will kind of be explored with the new series. Maybe they'll have other Collinses, maybe we'll finally get the stories of what was it, Isaac Collins, and some of these other Collins ancestors.
Yeah. Amadeus Collins, I think, was another one.
Yeah,
Yeah.
we find out more about him.
Yeah. I, I would love to see that. And I kind of would have liked to have seen that in the original run too, had it not been canceled. So,
Mhm.
but
What are some of your favorite moments on Dark Shadows?
oh, being the romantic that I am, the first one that comes to mind is the Barnabas and Kitty Soames thing, where she's actually Josette. She's just, like the reincarnation, and they escape through the picture, and it looks like Barnabas is finally going to get his happy ending. He's going to, they go back and she's Josette. She knows she's Josette. He knows she's Josette, and they're planning to meet up. He saved her from the hill by sending Aunt Natalie, and or I can't remember. I think. And they almost get their happy ending, and then the Leviathans show up. It's just, it's so heartbreaking. But it's like just that little glimmer of hope that you think he's gonna get Josette finally, and it doesn't happen. But yeah, all the romances, like I think Cara and I had this conversation a million times, but it's like I don't think there are so many failed relationships on this show. Like there's so few that actually work out. And I can't I can't think of one that actually worked out, They all kind of ended up tragically, but yeah, just I'm like, I get that it's like series of unfortunate events. It's like, no, there are no happy endings here. But not to say that there weren't happy endings. It's just as far as like the couples go, I don't feel like there was one there, that lasted. So I don't know. But that was one of my favorite parts was Kitty and Barnabas, just finally realizing who she was, and she finally came to grips with it. That just made me so happy. I was like, yay, Josette. But
Now, do you think that the Leviathans actually had Josette? That they actually were, that they weren't just bluffing, that they really did have Josette?
I don't think they did have Josette, to be
I
honest. I don't think they did.
I think they were bluffing.
Yeah, I think so too. But they knew that that was Barnabas's soft spot, and he wasn't even going to try to check, or how could he, But I mean, Josette has always been the soft spot for Barnabas, and you know, he didn't even question it. So, but I don't think they did. I don't think they did at all. So,
Yeah, I think they were bluffing. And
yeah.
I also don't buy that whole crap about Jeb in 1795 and the Leviathan with Vicky. No, I think that was just a stupid story and that never happened.
No, because it doesn't make sense to me. I'm like, okay, if you're gonna tell it, let's see it make sense, and it never did. It never did. It's like Peter Bradford showed up and then he was gone again. I'm like, what? Hang on, what? But no, I think the Leviathans spend a lot of tales, but I don't think I think a lot of them were just bluffs, and they say they've been there since the beginning of time, but this is the first time we're ever seeing the altar. And I know somebody out there is going to be like, oh, well, that's when they were written in. Hold up a sec. We're talking about the story. But I think the altar is kind of like that parallel room. Like you have to be standing in just the right spot, or there's like, it's like frozen in time or like hidden by time, and it's like in a bubble or something, and that, it just like popped at the right time or something.
Maybe you have
So,
the certain mindset to see it, or
right.
channeling a certain frequency or something.
Or you had to be chosen by the Leviathans to see it.
Yeah.
Because Barnabas is like, I'm lost on my own property on the Collins estate. And then there's the altar. So I think if it has been there since the beginning of time, I think you either have to be chosen, or, there has to be certain like ramifications to see it. But Yeah,
Hmm.
they're shady that way. Leviathans are crazy.
Now that's another thing that it could be if we're talking about with the whole thing with the Collinwood being a hell mouth and
Yeah,
ancient. Maybe it's been the Leviathans all along if it's been there
maybe
since.
so. Maybe so. That's something I'd like to know. Why is Collinwood? Why are the Collinses so cursed? It's always happening to them, and but I honestly don't think it's just them. In the grand scheme of Collinsport, I kind of don't think it's just them. I think the whole town, you know, has something. I think
Yeah.
lots of people in the town have problems, but the Collinses are the most prominent, so those are the ones we see. So
And if you think about it, what about all of the victims? What about all of the women that Barnabas killed when he was first a vampire? They had families. You think they probably thought that they were cursed?
probably,
No.
probably,
Yeah, maybe.
yeah.
What are some of the scariest moments for you on the show?
Oh, I think that I think that Dirk Wilkins, where it was a scary vampire, I think
Yes.
he's terrifying, and I think that Roger Davis enjoyed it a little too much, and that's fine. Not even too much. He enjoyed it a lot, and he was a very convincing vampire. And we had this conversation with somebody, again, I can't remember who it was, but it was talking about the difference between the other vampires on the show and Barnabas. Like Barnabas was like the reluctant vampire, but the other ones, like, they reveled in it. It was like carnal for them, but for Barnabas it was something that he didn't enjoy. But like a lot of the other vampires, well, all of the other vampires did. They enjoyed it. I mean, even Angelique, who she just didn't want to be a vampire because it limited when she could, you know, raise hell and give people trouble. But I think Tom Jennings was a frightening vampire too. He scared me so bad. Like, especially the first time I saw it, I'm like, and poor Amy, to have a vampire and a werewolf. You got both sides. It's like, and then there's her. So I just, like, Tom Jennings and Dirk Wilkins were definitely some of the most scariest for me on the show. Um, the other ones are kind of silly. It's like Paul Stoddard in his grave smiling up at Jeb. That used to scare me. I'm like, and then Quentin's grandmother too, like smiling in her grave, and I'm like, stop. That scares me. It's just, I don't know. It's like a clown face in the dark. So I was, mm-mm, mm-mm. But
Well, I have a theory about how you talk about the other vampires kind of reveling in being vampires and Barnabas didn't. So I have a theory, and
okay,
my theory is being a vampire is a very sexual thing.
certainly.
What if Barnabas? What if he's one of those people that they have to fall in love with somebody to be sexually attracted, to be turned on, to be, what if that's his hang up? You
That
know,
sounds like my kind of guy, honestly.
but I think that would make sense,
Romantic.
you
It
know,
would. It would.
you know,
Yeah. I mean,
you know,
because that's who he was at his core.
mm,
He didn't seem like the type that was a player, because I think even in Martinique, even when he was with Angelique, I think he did love her. I
yeah, I
do.
think so
So,
too.
when he loved hard. So that would make sense, in his regard of being a vampire, why he didn't enjoy it, because that just wasn't him at the core. But all these other people, probably wasn't them at the core. So, which is probably why they reveled in it so much.
It was
But,
means to an end. It was either for sustenance because he was hungry, or because somebody had done something. Because really, when he kills people, he does it for a reason. He doesn't really kill anyone for no reason.
right.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, you're right. I mean, like, thinking about it, like, the other vampires on the show just killed to kill, but for him, there was always a reason, because he had the urge, because he needed blood. And, you
Mhm.
know, even when he was a vampire the second time around with the Leviathans, he was still, he isolated himself, and he only did what he needed to do, you know, and
And that ties into my sex theory too. with the other vampires because they're getting that rush. They're hearing someone's heartbeat in fear. Maybe that's exciting them. Oh, all that blood flowing, woohoo! You know.
Mhm.
So, I think that makes sense.
It does. It definitely does. It checks. Let me think. Did you have a favorite like story arc, like storyline on the show?
Well, I love the haunting of Collinwood with Quentin and Beth. That's where I first started watching the show. I saw
Oh, good choice.
I was like, I don't know what this is. I don't know who that is, but I am watching this. And I
Awesome.
watched it from then on. I just thought it was just gorgeous and I wanted to know anything I could about, who is this, Quentin Collins.
Absolutely.
1997, I love. I think that is, one of the most well written storylines on the entire show. And it's just like, full steam ahead for the whole freaking storyline. You don't know
Absolutely.
what's going to happen. They're throwing in it's got everything but the kitchen sink. I mean,
It's true.
it's fabulous. That is like peak Dark Shadows to me.
It is.
You
It
know,
is.
and that's where I first, because I came in the haunting storyline, and it wasn't even at the beginning of that. So the Collinses of 1897, they became very familiar to me. They're the ones that I saw from where they started. With the present day Collinses, I didn't know who Vicky was. I didn't know all of the stuff that had happened before until I got to the very end of the show, and then had to go, back around.
Right, right.
So I
That's
have
great.
a deep fondness for the Collinses of 1897 because for me that's where I got to see from the beginning. I got to kind of grow with them and follow them on their journey.
That's awesome. That's a great place to start too. Just because it's like you said, there's so much like 1897, I think is the biggest, like
Mhm.
longest story arc. And there is so much. I mean, there are a few like recycled stories in it, but it's still good. It has everything, like everything you need to know about Dark Shadows. It's right there. And my older sister is watching it through for the very first time, and that's where she is in her watch. She started from like the beginning of Barnabas, and now she's in 1897, and she's texting me every step of the way. She's like, "Oh my gosh, this just happened." I'm like, I know." And I'm like, but wait, there's more. But wait, there's more. And she's like, this round of Collinses. I was like, I know. I was like, they're a bit dysfunctional. I'm like, they're on a whole nother level dysfunctional as the rest of them. But because I mean, every Collins family has their dysfunction in some way. But 1897, there's like sibling rivalry. There's, grandma's inheritance. And then you get all the supernatural stuff, the werewolf and the vampire and Jenny and the gypsies. And it's crazy, but it's such a good time. It's such a good storyline. I love
Mhm.
it.
It is. And I think coming in at that point, that because these characters are so well written, that there were even things in Barnabas and Angelique that even though I didn't know their history, I had not seen 1795 at this point, I could get like what they meant to each other. I could get that they had this kind of frenemy thing going
Oh
on,
yeah.
get the tension. I could get that she loved him.
Hmm.
Certainly got that, especially when she helped him, because here she was saying, he's my enemy and this and that, but yet she's helping him. So I was like,
Right.
hey, girl, I see you,
Hmm.
get that.
I think we can relate to, we're back on Angelique, but I really think like in every storyline, I can relate to her in some
Mhm.
form. It's like, I don't know. I know she's a witch, and I know that, people have a love-hate relationship with her, but I relate to her so much.
Mhm.
Even though she knows that Barnabas won't love her, she's still going to help him. And it's just, that's what I would do too.
Yeah,
That's what
that's what I would do too.
I
There are a few people out there who may possibly even be watching this, who have broken my heart, but would I
Sure.
help if they needed help? Yes, I would.
Me too. Me too. And they might be watching too, and they know it. But I get it. I relate so much with her, and I can't be mad. Maybe when I was younger, like when I was first watching it, when I was, 14 and 15, and I'm like, oh, what a bitch, but now that I'm older, I'm like, I get you, girl. I get it. But
She does what she has to do or what she feels she has to do. She does things for a reason. I don't think she really particularly does things to be like outright mean or evil.
I agree. I
I,
agree.
there's a method to her madness.
Absolutely.
There's a reason why she does what she does.
Absolutely. And she did try to move on. She tried to get with Quentin, and she had Sky for a while, and it's not like she didn't try.
Now,
But
how much of the Quentin do you think was to make Barnabas jealous?
oh, so much of it. She didn't love Quentin.
Too.
She
I
didn't
mean,
love him.
if you're gonna somebody jealous, you find the eye candy around you, and that's what she did.
Exactly. She knew the game.
Yeah.
Even in 1897, she knew the game. Which also made her relatable. So it just did. Oh man.
Very, very relatable. And I think one of the most heartbreaking moments on the show is when she dies. You
So
know,
true.
because you've gone through so much with her at this point. It looks like there's that there's a happy ending right on the horizon, and you're like, okay, things are gonna be good now, and she's gonna get what she's wanted, and they're gonna be happy, and this is gonna be awesome. And then frickin' Lamar Trask, or yeah, Lamar Trask, like really, like dude,
Yeah.
I
Of
hate
course it was a
Trask.
Trask. And it was gonna be a Trask. It just had to be because
Mhm.
he's
Trask ruin everything.
they really do. And it's like you weren't even a reverend. You buried the dead for a living. And
Mhm. He was a wannabe.
yeah. And I think Roxanne told him that more than once. It's like,
Mhm.
go back to your undertaking. I'm like, you're right. But it had to be a Trask
Mhm.
because that's what Trask do.
But
Make hell for everyone.
but there are some actually truly heartbreaking moments on the show too. I mean,
I
when it
agree.
guys, when Jenny comes to Lenore, it's like, oh my gosh, and
Yeah.
she's so beautiful.
So beautiful. And then when she comes to save the baby, even though in death, it's like she is finally, she's perfect because she's dead now, and it's like she's in her right mind, and it's just like even Quentin, I think, feels it. It's like this is probably the woman he married, and she comes back to save their baby, and I'm just like, I think I did shed a few tears. I did. I'm just like, wow. I mean, there are definitely some touching moments, and I mean, um, Vicky and Peter going back into the past together, it's like you were so happy, but at the same time, you're so sad for Barnabas. Like you're so depressed for him because just
Mhm.
moments before he just like opened his soul to her, and said, "I know you won't love me. I know it won't be the same." He's like, "But let me love you," and you're like, "Just do it, Vicky. I mean, you could be so happy." And she said, "No." Like immediately, like didn't even give it a thought. Just no. And that broke my heart for Barnabas because he was purely human. He wasn't out to make her Josette. He just loved her and wanted to see her happy and knew that he could probably make her really happy if she would just let him. And she just said no. And I don't know, my heart kind of broke. And then she went into the past and stayed with Peter. And it was just that was one of the most heartbreaking for me. And
I was mad at her,
I
because
was too.
I thought, how stupid can you be? They hung you once. You're really gonna go back to that time and take your chances again?
Yeah, yeah. She's like, "Oh, we'll make it work." I'm like, "Yeah, and it's going to end in exactly the same way." And it did. And Barnabas had to go back and save her again. I don't know. Not a smart girl, Vicky. I mean, to be so smart, you're kind of dumb.
You never. But one of the other really heartbreaking moments, I think, is Naomi and the tower.
Oh, yeah.
That
Yeah.
was another, and I was so mad at Forbes, you
Yeah.
know, because how much of a dick can you be, you know? He just
So
kept
bad that
getting
Barnabas had to get him twice too.
worse. Yeah.
Yeah. I think what makes me the most mad about Forbes is in the beginning you don't see him as a bad guy. I mean, he's pushing up on girls, like guys do, but you don't understand how despicable he is until later, until money is involved, and then you start to see how he really is, and then it's like you kind of betrayed this whole family, it's a family you said you were fond of and close to and loyal to, and just to see,
Yeah.
and Naomi, I think was one of the hardest pieces, and Millicent to, go out of her crazy mind the way that she did. I felt terrible, and it's just you get
And you have to know that Forbes was never a good guy. He was never an
no,
honorable because he was married to Suki and nobody knew. And if he
right,
was the friend of the family, that's something that they would know.
exactly. Which makes me wonder if he was just, close to them because they had money, made
Probably.
friends with the boys because they had money. I
Mm.
just forget Nathan Forbes. I think he ranks up there probably. I mean, I would probably say number one as most despicable character on the show
Mhm.
because he made people think that he was a good stand-up guy when the whole time he wasn't. I mean,
Mhm.
Nicholas Blair came in and you knew he was rotten.
Yeah.
But
You
not
know,
Nathan. He totally
Forbes did
switched.
all these horrible things, and the lying in the courtroom, and Naomi and Millicent, and I mean just so many things, one right after the other. And Noah Gifford, to take Daniel. It's like
Hmm.
it just keeps getting worse and worse and worse.
I know. God, no, terrible. Like most despicable, I would say, in my opinion, number one. He's enemy number one. But like even the Trask, you knew when they showed up on the scene that they were no good,
Yeah,
And
they just kind of oozed it, the
yeah,
track songs coming a mile away.
exactly. I'm like, I mean, Reverend Trask, like Orville Trask in 1795, he may have been in like spot 2 or 3, but at least you knew what he was going to do. Nathan was first watch around. I mean, that was kind of a shock. The first time I ever watched it, I was like, these were your friends and you just betrayed them, and clearly you didn't care for them at all, but mm-mm. Nathan Forbes.
What was the most shocking moment on the show?
Most shocking. I don't know about most shocking, but one of the most shocking moments was the whole Sky Rumson thing.
Mhm.
I didn't see that coming a mile away. I was like, he's one of them too, and I felt terrible for Angelique because I think she was trying to do the right thing for once, and trying to be a good girl, and then couldn't because her husband wasn't a good guy, and it just that was one of the most shocking like heel turns I've ever seen. Like even not just on Dark Shadows, but ever, And it's just that was one of the most shocking, I think. But
I didn't think he had it in him, you know.
no, either. Just a rich guy with a pretty wife, and maybe doesn't know her past, but I didn't think he cared. I thought he was just sick puppy and drunk in love, and that's okay. And then he turned, and I was like, what? Ugh. As irritating as it was shocking. So, but I don't know. What about you?
Well, I mean, there's a few of them. What was the one that I was just like, oh my gosh, I couldn't believe that when Barnabas got staked in 1897.
Oh
That
yeah,
was a
yeah.
big shock because you knew something was going to happen, but they actually like outright like staked him. And of course, in the moment, you don't think about, oh yeah, Angelique in the mirror and blah blah blah. You don't think about that. You just
No,
staked him, and
yeah.
it was like a huge shock.
It was. I definitely was. I had another one and it was right here. Well, oh, at the end, like in 1841 parallel time when Morgan turned, it
Mhm.
wasn't even the room. He was so jealous of Bromwell. It wasn't even the room that made him crazy. It was the fact that he thought Bromwell and Catherine were because they were having a baby. That's what it was. And he just completely turned like that, maybe not as shocking as the other, but
Not
and
jerk.
yeah,
least I thought so.
I mean, it was, I didn't expect him to quite go down that path, but I was actually, it did kind of make me relieved because then he got out of the way for Bromwell and Catherine. But I,
The thing about Morgan that I thought was a shock was after he married Catherine, and he said that they weren't gonna consummate the marriage, they weren't gonna have children or whatever it was. That was like that was a shock because
yeah,
it was like, okay, there's something wrong with you, dude. You
yeah,
I mean, she's gorgeous, and
she is.
you said you want to marry her, and you're gonna deny her children. You're gonna deny her to actually like be a wife. What is she, just your eye candy? I mean, is
Yeah,
she
trophy.
your trophy wife? I mean, that was kind of shocking that he was such a jerk.
Definitely. Yeah. I mean, I kind of saw like the meathead part of him come out, and okay, I'll buy that because he's a Collins and there's always one in every Collins family, in every family. But for him to be that, like, wanting to keep her so kept, but so like denied her all those privileges as his wife too, that was kind of shocking. It was like, I'm like,
Yeah,
I get that he was, a stern man, but not like that, kind
because
of
I
made
mean,
him
and
seem
and
less
the
big.
marriage was a big thing. You married once. I mean, it's not like you could go out
Right.
and get a divorce in Reno. I mean,
Right. Exactly.
married, you stayed married. And so women had to think long and hard about, do I really want to marry this person? And she thought she was making the best decision she could make, assuming it was going to be like a normal marriage. And then
Exactly.
when he lays it out to her, it's like, oh,
Yeah. I can't imagine. I can't imagine.
I probably
Yeah,
would have killed him and ran off with Bramwell.
exactly. But I would have too. I'm like, and Bramwell like married married Daphne for what, to make Catherine jealous, or just I don't even, I guess to make Catherine jealous. I mean, that was kind of like, I
or
mean, it
maybe.
wasn't really shocking, but I was like, come on, Bramwell, you're better than that. But
And I
maybe he
think
wasn't.
too that he thought that with Catherine gone, that, maybe he felt like, well, there's nobody else for me since she's, with Morgan. And I think that when Daphne showed that interest in him, it was like, okay, you'll do. I think that was
Yeah.
his reasoning there, besides
Maybe
jealous.
so. And I think, I mean, definitely they made a really, they did a really good job, I think, of like portraying Daphne as, she's immature, she's kind of a child, because she was, and but she, wanted to be a good wife to Bromwell. She wanted to be loyal to him, but she was young, and everybody tried to tell her, and I don't know. I guess I can appreciate her for, what she was, but because I was that kid that got married to the older man and wanted to, I just want to make you happy. I just want to make you a good wife. And yeah, I related to Daphne on that part. Not so much with Bramwell, but I did, with Daphne, that kind of struck a chord. But but yeah.
So besides Angelique, who would you say is your favorite character?
Oh, my favorite character. I have to say Julia Hoffman. Like 1970 present time Julia Hoffman, just because I love how smart she is. I love that she she's a gorgeous woman, but not in like the textbook way. She's like uniquely beautiful, and I think that's awesome. And then for her to be so smart yet fall so human too. Like still, have feelings for someone and fall in love with someone who knows that they will not love her back. And but is still so loyal and so like, I'm with you, I will do whatever it takes, I don't care that we're just friends as long as I get to be around you. I think there's a little bit of Julia in all of us. I think that, we have people like that in our lives, people where we know it's not going to work out, it'll never work out, it'll never be a thing, but I'm still going to stand beside you, I'm still going to do everything that I can for you because I am so fond of you. I think it just went beyond, like, at the end it was just beyond being in love with him. She was like devoted to him, and I always appreciated her for that, because you know, a lot of other people tried to be devoted to him too and ended up falling away, like, you know, Vicky and Maggie, who doesn't really count that much because she was under Barnabas's power, but Vicky, who ended up falling in love with someone else, and you know, Barnabas was kind of secondary to her. That was never the case with Julia. She was always by his side, and I always appreciated her for that.
Yeah. You know, she was so devoted to him that she killed for him.
Yeah, exactly. And the one time she wasn't by his side was she was under somebody else's power and couldn't help herself. So, you know, but I don't know. I always appreciated Julia for what she did for Barnabas and how her loyalty was just everything. It just was. But
I wish he had appreciated her more. You know, we beautiful moments. You know, the Never Without You. You know,
yeah.
Oh,
tearjerker. Oh,
you know, and there's a moment where, you know, he caresses her cheek, and she's so beautiful, the gorgeous cheekbones and those eyes, looking at him with like this adoration, and you think, oh, okay, now he's gonna, you know, say his feelings for her or something, and he doesn't, and he's like,
bastard. Oh, I love Barnabas, but there was so many there's so many instances, and most of them were with Julia, that he just irritated me. I'm like, you jerk. Like, you have no idea. But yeah.
Yeah, the Collins men are mostly jerks, I think. Most of them, you know. They're fun to fool around with, but I don't know if I'd want to hang on to one for more than a brief time.
I feel like I'm starting to feel that way. It's like, you're gorgeous, you're wonderful, but I don't know if you're husband material.
Maybe the weekend. We'll play house.
Yeah. We'll go to Martinique for the weekend and do that, you know. I love it.
Well, this has been awesome, and
yes,
let you go because it's still hot here, and I'm sure it's still hot there, and you know, park your butt under a fan. That's what I'm gonna do.
Oh, yes, ma'am. I've got two, and they're both gonna be pointed towards me.
And I'll send you my Angelique album. Do you have iTunes or Spotify, or do you use?
I have Spotify.
Okay, or YouTube. I can send. I think I can get it on YouTube. I have the whole album up on YouTube.
That's great too.
Because I think you'll like it. You know,
I can't wait. I'm excited.
Yeah. So,
well, thank you so much for having me. This was so much fun.
We have to do this again.
I agree. And I'll have you on sometime too, once I get my life in order with this podcast. But if anything else, I'll see you in like 2 weeks. So
yeah, I know. I'm so excited.
Yeah. Yes. No, we won't be afraid of each other this time.
Yeah. No.
All right. Well, go cool off. I'm gonna get out from under this makeup. So
me too. I'm gonna take this right off.
Yes, ma'am. All right.
Hey.
All right. Bye.
Bye.
In remembrance, I lay on the pillow where you had rested your head, and I breathed in the faint trace of your scent. I replayed each moment in my head, and I touched where your hands had been. I dreamt how one day we will wed, euphoric in the knowledge you want me. As I went about my day, in my mind you came back in my memory. I felt so alive and gay, and rejoiced that you'd again come to me. The morning after you had sailed away from my island home from me, I knew in my heart that soon one day, once again my lover you would be. All the long months how I yearned for your kisses and your touch. With fiery passion I burned, knowing our reunion would come soon enough. As I went about my day, in my mind you came back in my memories. I felt so alive and that you'd again come to me. The morning after I arrived in this strange and distant land, and learned you still intend to make her your wife, and not me as I'd planned. Your rejection has broken my heart, and I do not understand why you toy with me from the start, if you always intended to have her hand. As I go about my day, I shall plot and think and plan. You'll regret treating me this way, but I'll make you mine any way I can. He really is a scoundrel. I'm strictly out of bounds, yet I'm confounded by the way he makes me feel. Now he's back in town, and I'm affected, I have found, by the sound of his music and his sex appeal. No, I'm a good girl and I care for his wife, both literally and emotionally. There's no place for Quentin Collins in my life. He'll never get what he wants from me. If I do not resist him, what will become of me? Jenny Collins is my friend. To Quentin she is wed. He's just a bored playboy with an itch to scratch. I'll never let him in my bed. He can't get into my head. Why did he have to come back? No, I'm a good girl and I care for his wife, both literally and emotionally. There's no place for Quentin Collins in my life. He'll never get what he wants from me. If I do not resist him, what will become of me? No one knows how I wept the night he left, with his brother's wife by his side. I told myself it was for Jenny that I felt such pity, but it was for myself I cried. It's so hard to resist that smile. I find myself falling wild. I know I can't trust what he says, so all alone I sigh for the twinkle in his eye. I know it will be the ruin of Beth Chavez. No, I'm a good girl and I care for his wife, both literally and emotionally. There's no place for Quentin Collins in my life. He'll never get what he wants from me. If I do not resist him, what will become of me?
I thought of you when I saw this today. Open it up and listen to it play. A simple, lovely melody, delicate and fine, wrapped up in a box, a one of a kind. When you're troubled, just open like this, and let its tune bring comfort and bliss.
The veil between worlds has been breached. What was lost is again in reach. As I walk these gloomy halls, memories of the past regard, of secrets dark, hidden deep, in sealed-off rooms to forever keep. But I am free to live again, and with the help of these children, Collinwood will finally belong to the one and only Quentin.
Together for all time. Without you, I can't be haunting you. You're haunting me. Love is a powerful emotion. Lust sends action into motion. And I died for you. It's the death of me. In this house by the ocean, for eternity, you've got this notion to run off the family. Together intertwined, together for all time. Without you, I can't be haunting you. You're haunting me. Secrets lurk in abandoned wings. Behind false walls lie amazing things. As the music plays and your power grows stronger each day, it seems, and nobody knows why you haunt their dreams. Can't you leave them alone? Together intertwined, together for all time. Without you, I can't be haunting you. You're haunting me. As the old telephone rings, there's evil on the line. Can't you listen to me? This just isn't right. Are you handsome devil with the gleam in your eye? Leave the children alone. They're terrified. Now you've emptied the house. Your wicked laughter ringing through the night.
I'm Charles Delaware Tate. I'm here to paint a portrait. It was commissioned last year. I've just gotten here. I'm known to be fashionably late. This commission was a godsend, it's true. I was living in a dustbin, eating newspaper stew. A starving artist no more. I've fans in Europe by the score. I'm sure to have discovered I've a talent no one else can do. Whatever I draw or paint comes true. This is an inner monologue. You didn't hear that part. Let's cut unnecessary dialogue. When can I start? Mr. Collins, with my portrait, you'll be the envy of your friends. In all my social circles, I'm known for working with my hands. Of course I'm not pushy, let me position you just so. Just leave everything to me, it's already paid for, you know. You'll be pleased with the painting in the end. Was a godsend, it's true. I was living in a dustbin, eating newspaper stew. A starving artist no more, I fans in Europe by the score. I'm sure to have fans here too. I've discovered I've a talent no one else can do. Whatever I draw or paint comes true. This is an inner monologue. You didn't hear that part. Dialogue. When can I start? Mr. Collins, with my portrait, you'll be the envy of your friends. In all my social circles, I'm known for working with my hands. Of course I'm not pushy, let me position you just so. Just leave everything to me, it's already paid for, you know. You'll be pleased with the painting in the end. You'll be pleased with the painting in the end. Oh, and you'll be the envy of your friends. In all my social circles, I'm known for working with my hands. Of course I'm not pushy, let me position you just so. Just leave everything to me, it's already paid for, you know. You'll be pleased with the painting in the end.
Welcome home, cousin. Welcome.
The Back Room at the Blue Whale is a Dark Shadows podcast.